Hey guys, Stuart Donaldson here with another book review, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Art of Resilience by Ross Edgley. So Ross Edgley shares his epic tale of swimming around Great Britain. That's 1,800 miles, which is a lot of kilometres. I think almost 3,000 kilometres. Basically swimming 12 hours a day, every day with the tide. So every time the tide would change in his favour, 6 hours in the water, out while the tides change, and then back in for another 6 hours. And he also shares his philosophy of Stoic sports science, training resilience and mental toughness, as well as some of the other physical training required to achieve such a feat. It's a really remarkable tale, and he tells us swimming through the shipping channel between England and France, getting stung in the face by giant jellyfish off the coast of Scotland. He gets chafed so bad on his neck that the skin just get rubbed away and rubbed raw, and swimming around lots of fun places like something like Cape Wrath was something sort of very intimidating. Basically, when he set out from a little town called Margate, very few people thought that he would succeed, but Ross was very confident that he was going to be able to be successful, and in his book, at least, he says he's going to be successful straight away. And he had a bit of a haters gonna hate type attitude. The interesting thing about the book is each chapter is kind of written like a lesson, focusing on a lesson, but it's also very anecdotal and summarizing the journey that took how many months, several months, many months to do, but summarizing the actual swimming parts, the notable parts of the swimming, as well as the lessons sort of learned along the way. One of my favorite lessons was lesson 12, where he talks about exposure therapy and controlling fear through gradual exposure. And he writes about when he was swimming with a shark, and it was a basking shark, so not actually likely to eat him, but obviously it's the second biggest shark in the ocean. So how he needed to remain calm through that, and he had completed some exposure therapy previously, basically being able to train his fight or flight reflex to remain calm and keep on swimming. Throughout the book, Ross talks about the Stoics and their philosophies, and Stoicism, something I've been looking into a lot lately. But one major part of the book is accepting the uncontrollables and controlling what you can control. So controlling yourself, but not, obviously accepting, the things that you can't control. And this is a key part of that Stoic philosophy. The analogy Ross wrote about in the book was being like a dog tied to a cart. The dog can trot alongside the cart happily, or it can try and go in a different direction, scrambling and eventually being pulled along in that direction anyway. So you got to control what you can control, which is just like life, really. So sometimes you simply can't control what is thrown at you, and you do have to manage what you can. And in the ocean, obviously, which is what this book's about, no one can control the swell, the tides, the temperature, or the company that you need to keep or that you might encounter. You can only focus on yourself and your swimming, and that was one of the big takeaways from the book. My favourite story from the book is actually not related to swimming, but a previous experience where he spent time with a Kenyan tribe, and the tribe spoke about why the Kenyan marathon runners were so resilient and tough, and set so many world records and experienced so much success basically. And I'm just going to read that little excerpt from the book here.
One eternity later.
Okay, so I found the section in the book here. Talks about a ceremony that the teenage boys or the younger boys go through as they're sort of approaching manhood, a bit of a rites of passage. I'm just going to read directly from the book. First, you must crawl naked through a tunnel of African stinging nettles. This will cause rash, blisters, scars, and a lot of pain. After this, you must accept a beating on the bony parts of the ankles and knuckles with hard sticks. You then have the acid from the stinging nettles rubbed on your genitals until you're then circumcised without anesthetic or pain reliever of any kind with a sharp stick. Ross then says, I was already wincing about thinking about this. You could not make that face, Ross, he said sternly. During the ceremony, your face would be covered in dry mud. This is to ensure you don't flinch from the pain during the circumcision. You must remain quiet, still and strong, and any involuntary twitch of the cheek might split the mud and cause you to be branded a coward. Tao then argued that this was the extreme way of training toughness and was the reason that the Kenyan runners were so good. So that does explain a little bit, I suppose. I challenge anybody in Western society to go through something like that. I'm certainly not volunteering. Another pleasing revelation in the book was when Ross talks about how smiling makes you faster. He refers to a study in which people were shown either happy or sad faces subliminally while exercising to exhaustion, and then basically showed that the people who saw happier faces went on to exercise for longer. And this highlights the importance of support and cheering and happy faces when you're at the end of a long run or a race or a challenging event. And impressively for me, as someone with a science background, all his work is referenced, and there's a really long list all the way at the back with all of the studies and books and all of that stuff that he references throughout. So overall, a really good book. And my three main takeaways is number one, the mind can push through even when the body wants to quit. And when you're swimming for 150 days plus on end, 1,800 miles, 12 hours a day, I'm sure there was times when the mind wanted to quit and the body wanted to quit, but the mind was able to push him through. Second big takeaway is that the body will adapt to whatever circumstances you throw at it. Ross talks in the book about how his body changed shape. He got musclier in certain places and gained weight and basically just adapted to being a creature of the ocean. And then the third takeaway is that there's always going to be doubters, and it's up to you whether you want to believe them or whether you're going to prove them wrong. So that was it, The Art of Resilience by Ross Edgley, a really good read. So try and pick it up at your local library or on wherever good books are sold.